All right, welcome in. It is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview, week 10, along with Jim Dunaway. I'm Ryan Brown, and we're getting ready for another great weekend of college football, an SEC doubleheader that will be the two biggest games of the nation this weekend. Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, back-to-back. And that's going to be a fun window right there, Dunaway, starting at 2:30 until we're doing the post-game show. That's going to be a good window of football.
Yeah, Maggie has a volunteer party for things she runs at the church this afternoon from 5 until 7. And obviously she didn't even tell me about it because she knew there was no way I was going to go. But last night I made the offhanded comment thinking, how many fights have you started in our church family of volunteer wives who are going to try to drag their husband to this party? And you know, we'll see if our congregation survives this football Saturday. I mean, when you got number one versus number one, and then both Alabama and Auburn playing in the parts of that party there, it's almost like a wedding today for the Volunteers. But we'll see how that plays out today. And I'll be at home with two little dogs barking, I'm sure, at some point that'll try to disrupt my day. But I don't think anything could rain on a day like this. This is going to be one of those special days in college football in Browning. You got playoff implications early on. They just made the point on game day a few minutes ago, something we've talked about all week on the show, that TCU game is huge when you start talking about the SEC getting a second team in. A loser, if you're Tennessee or Georgia, whoever makes it to the SEC championship game, if Alabama were to get there and to win the SEC championship, for Tennessee or Georgia to get in this thing, the non-SEC champion one of Tennessee and Georgia, you need TCU and Clemson not to be undefeated in conference champions at the end. So I know it's only week 10, but in the next 4 weeks, if you're an SEC team that doesn't win the SEC champion or a Big Ten team that does the Big Ten championship, you are cheering for anybody playing TCU and anybody playing Clemson, in my opinion. So today could be a magical day, because I think Texas Tech TCU is a big game, 11 o'clock on Fox, the big noon kickoff with our buddy Clapp. And then tonight on NBC, opposite of Bama, LSU, and Auburn, Mississippi State, Clemson at Notre Dame. If you're able to get upsets today of Texas Tech and Notre Dame, that sort of clears the path for a second SEC or a second Big Ten, or maybe both, two Big Ten, two SECs getting into that playoffs. It could be a big day for the playoffs opening up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There will be playoff implications all over the place. So it's a great point by you there, Dunaway, starting with the big noon kickoff. Even though, you look at it, Texas Tech obviously has no path. So when you watch, LSU's even got an outside path. They just continue to win out. Both Georgia and Tennessee have a path. Alabama's got a path. And that's what makes those types of games special, is that you watch that knowing that either team that wins this, it's everything for them. Texas Tech wins it. That's a great upset. And Joey McGuire, big win for him. But it doesn't really – it just changes their bowl destination, right? This is playoff implications of the SEC.
And, and Kirby didn't even clap back at McAfee this morning when Kirby was on the set, and McAfee called it an elimination game, a playoff elimination game. And Kirby didn't give it, I don't want to put too much on this. It's just another game. Kirby didn't clap back about how important this game is for Georgia. And you've talked about that angle of it this week, and several of our guests have brought it up too, that Tennessee technically can absorb a loss today because of the wins they have, like the one over Alabama, and still have a chance to be that second team if Georgia went on to win the SEC championship. But a Georgia loss today, because of their schedule, they may not get a second look at the playoffs. So for Georgia today, this is a much more important game for the home team than it is for the visit. It's big for the Volunteers because you want to control your own destiny, but it is almost do or die for the defending national champs today.
All right, it is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. Don't forget Johnston RV Center still, even here in November, got a few 22s they're hanging on to, but they want to get rid of them so they can make room for the 23s. That means you are the beneficiary. You can head up to I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, always online, johnstonrvcenter.com, johnstonrvcenter.com. Also, thank you to Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. If you're tailgating locally, or if you just got a watch party for these big games this afternoon and tonight, you can head by Champy's and do really well there with their chicken tenders, the tamales, the desserts, the sides, all great there at Champy's and Alabaster. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you've subscribed to our YouTube channel and set alerts so you know when we're live on things like this. Also, if you're on Twitter, please fire off a retweet of this so people will watch and more people will watch. And you can join us in the chat room there, like us there. Share us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up there, and on Twitch as well. Kyle says, Lance must be fighting the leaf blowers. That's constant for Lance. Ruffum says, Lance must be nursing a hangover, probably. But he is here. He is with us now. What is up, LT? How are you?
I'm good, man.
In witness protection. LT is in witness protection. We're going to need the deep voice. Why was there? And they told me to get in the truck.
Is something up with my audio?
No, it's the video. It's getting better. Way too bright behind you.
I will tell you.
People expect it out of you. You're either laying on the couch over there, or you're good.
So there is a leaf blower 2 doors over. It's so funny. This week I've gotten so many different comments about the leaf blowers. It's like finally people have jumped on board of what's going on.
Well,
again, I'm telling you, the leaf blower guy's in on the joke, Dunaway, don't you think?
I do, but Ryan McGee had a big problem in his neighborhood, and he and I had a discussion. And a lot of our viewers and listeners were retweeting Lance and Ryan McGee together, saying you two should combine forces and try to end this. And I made a point with McGee. I was like, back in my day, I guess we didn't have leaf blowers, or we had not. It was not as common.
We used rakes.
We used rakes and we burned them, and that was one of the great smells of fall. So we don't burn leaves as much as we used to anymore, and we need to use the rake. I mean, it's a great workout, guys. To save the gym. Save the gym membership and get the rake out.
The rake's the dumbest thing in the world. The leaf blower takes about 1/10 of the time as a rake.
Yeah, but no, the rake is traditional, and you do.
So is the newspaper, and the Birmingham News isn't printing anymore. So what? Yeah,
okay, I missed that too. But the leaf blower, it messes everybody up. I mean, like that's all anybody on this block is hearing right now.
Yeah. Would you rather Would you rather have the smell of a fall burning leaves in the atmosphere, or the sound of a leaf blower?
Am I doing it, or am I paying somebody to do it?
Well, knowing you're paying somebody to do it.
Then I don't really care. But if I'm doing it, it's going to be the leaf blower. I ain't going to rake a pile of leaves and burn them. That takes forever. Leaf blower is like 1/10 of the time. It's a great invention. Lance is just old fashioned. I mean, he likes the old
fashioned. I'm just
saying.
You're
arguing for a rake in a newspaper. You can't get any more old fashioned than that. You're going to be in a cardigan into house shoes later.
Again, if you blow your leaves once every 2 weeks, like I do, that's fine. But every day is a little excessive. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Every day is a bit excessive. All right, let's get to the games. 17, North Carolina at Virginia. Oh, first of all, last night, that was a good game. Washington and Oregon State. Kalen DeBoer has done a heck of a job.
So not to brag, but 2-0 last night, 8-2 this week, Lance'sLog.com. So 18 consecutive non-losing weeks, 8-2 to start the week. But, we had Oregon State last night, and I thought they were going to win the game. They're one of my 10 teams that I own. And they did everything they could to lose that game. Their fourth down conversions in the red zone were just – I thought the play calling was terrible. I like Jonathan Smith as a head coach, but how they lost that game, I have no idea. But you're right, it was a great game.
Dunaway, I don't know if you got to watch it. We have long been a critic of Pac-12 officiating.
Yes.
And I know this killed LT, but first half, Oregon State has a touchdown. I mean, it is a home run, uncontested, long touchdown run, blown dead. And the only explanation we get from the officials is Oregon State didn't call a timeout third down. I mean, it's every week in the Pac-12, every single week.
It really is. And I don't understand. I know these guys have other jobs. We're getting to the point, though, and I don't know if you guys agree with this. And I've always thought this with the NFL. These guys have one job. And in the offseason, you know what? Teach high school officials, continue to, hone your craft. But the money is so massive now, the officiating has got to be right. So pay these guys where they don't have to sell insurance on the side.
LT, it's impossible. Do you know how many games we have every week?
Dunaway never wants us spending money. He didn't want us to buy goal line cams.
Well, I'm just telling you how many. It's not the NFL where we only have 16 games a week. I mean, how many?
No, I'm just talking Power 5, Dunaway.
Okay, how many games is that?
It's a lot, but hell, I mean, how much money are these teams making?
So we're gonna have roughly how many?
Let me ask you this: back in the day, if you went back to the mud puddle, and I would have said, I'll give you $150,000 a year to be an official in the SEC.
Okay, easy. But let's do the math. Brown, how many officials are on the field at one time? 8? 8, and you got a clock operator on the side. That's 9. You got to have an alternate, so that's 10 a crew. That's 70 SEC officials every week, and that's just if conference is playing conference. So you got to have
your overhead should be $1 million a game at least.
Okay, but you're paying $150,000 a year to 70 people, and that's just if you're just playing conference games, right? So now you've got to factor that out to where you got 14 crews because there are games during the year where it's SEC versus the Sun Belt, and you got to have officials for that game too. So now it's just we would have an army of people that only worked 14 weeks a year.
Okay, I will say this again.
Or as I like to call that, Dubai.
I don't want to get on a boring tangent here, but you can hone your craft in the off weeks. I'm just saying that, what does the average SEC school have in their rainy day fund? $50 million? Yeah,
I really don't know. I mean, this would be a conference expenditure too, so it really wouldn't be the schools. But anyway, it's every week in the Pac-12. Just watch a Pac-12 game. You'll see horrible officiating mistakes.
Very frustrating.
Yeah,
I've
said it for years, Brown. You hate SEC officials. Watch the Pac-12.
Pac-12's worse,
and it makes you love the SEC officials.
Hey, and watch tonight. USC is a heavy favorite over Cal, and USC will win that game. But for whatever reason, USC will not get calls.
And no, Bobby, I'm not making excuses for incompetence. I'm pointing out, like our politicians refuse to do in Washington, is it's okay to scream on the mountaintop about all the problems in the world. Give me solutions. Don't give me, okay, that's a problem. It is a problem. It's horrible officiating last night. That's a problem. Now give me a real solution other than we need to fix it. All right, we need to fix it, but you cannot financially have Power 5 officials that only officiate Power 5 games and they work on their craft. It's too many people and too much money.
Yeah, so far this year, I've seen 2 misses I've never seen in my life. A play blown dead, and the Pac-12 officials last night saying there was no timeout called. And in the Utah-USC game, a play blown dead and officials saying a timeout was called during the play. Never seen either one of those. And they've happened already this year in the Pac-12.
Billion-dollar industry. We can afford it.
All right, North Carolina is at Virginia, 11 o'clock a.m. ACC Network. Number 17, North Carolina at Virginia. You would think North Carolina ranked this high with only the one loss would be a bigger than 7.5-point favorite. But Dunaway, that's where we find them this morning.
Yeah, it's a weird-looking line, but, boy, Drake May is so much fun to watch. And I love that guy. I don't understand why people think he'll not be back at North Carolina because that team has a path to the college football playoffs. So I don't understand what's happening with that line in that game. It seems like such easy money to take North Carolina and give the 7.5 as they go to Charlottesville. I mean, Tony Elliott, and he's made their quarterback not as good this year. And I don't know if they are expecting them to turn the corner today. The Virginia defense against North Carolina. I guess we're just betting on Chiswick's defense not to be good today, but I would take North Carolina in this one. I don't understand that line, LT.
Well, I think when you start to really look at this game, and I agree, Tony Elliott, the offense is weird because Brendan Armstrong has regressed. Drake May has been incredible. He's tied for the FBS lead, 29 touchdowns, along with C.J. Stroud. But Virginia, North Carolina has scored a touchdown on 44% of their drives, which is the 9th best in the FBS. But Virginia is only allowing 16% touchdowns on defense, which is the best right now in the ACC. So the defense has played pretty good for Tony Elliott. The offense has been completely awful.
In the 11 o'clock window as well on ABC, number 2, Ohio State's at Northwestern, 37.5. I mean, cover or not. I'm just curious, and I'll start with you, LT. Total points for Ohio State in this game. They are without Travion Henderson and, of course, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Pete Thamel reporting both those out today. For whatever that's worth, they've played a lot of football without definitely Smith and Jigba and a good bit without Travion Henderson recently. So total points Ohio State at Northwestern.
Get right game for C.J. Stroud in this Ohio State offense. I would have actually laid this and played this if it wasn't an 11 o'clock game. Wow. They're 33-1 over the last 50 years against the Wildcats. This is the largest they've been favored over Northwestern since 1983. I think C.J. Stroud has a huge game. I would say right now I'll go 58 points.
Yeah, what's crazy is you say get right game. C.J. Stroud was a horrible 26 of 33 for 354 last week.
He didn't look good. I'm used to seeing C.J. Stroud just shred defenses. You guys will give me the last couple of weeks. He's looked a little off.
He has. I mean, for 3.5 quarters, he struggled. There were no interceptions. He only had one touchdown. But what won the game last week for him, and what will win the game by dominant fashions today and makes Ohio State dangerous, is the defensive line, and not just JT Tuimoloau. Zach Harrison and Michael Hall Jr. are dominant as well. Those three defensive linemen are SEC-like. And that's the best part of the Ohio State defense to me, what they can do pressuring the quarterback. So easily Ohio State today, but more importantly, like LT's talking about, them starting to find a rhythm to get things going really well with Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson trying to get healthy and just getting right before that Michigan game, because that'll be a battle. And then the 2 playoff games would be huge. But the Buckeyes are probably still the most complete team in college football. We'll see that maybe when we get to the playoffs.
Also in the 11 o'clock window, ESPN, not a sexy game, but something to keep an eye on here. Texas A&M is minus 1.5 in this one, hosting Florida. Pete Thamel also reporting that the flu has hit Texas A&M especially hard, including the presumed starter in Connor Weigman. So, Dunaway, it looks like Texas A&M may have an issue at quarterback yet again going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're to that time of year where Jimbo is going to stack excuse over excuse to explain why this roster has ended up doing what it's doing this year and why it's got the record it has. If Weigman can't go, I guess we're back to Haynes King, who must have pictures on Jimbo or something, because he seems to always be the default answer when they need to go back to him. I'm just concerned about Florida running the football, Anthony Richardson running the football against the Aggies, who allowed the most rushing yards since Dennis Franchione in 2003 when they gave up 390 yards. So I'm concerned about that Aggie defense, ironically, more than I am the Aggie offense going into this game.
I don't know what to expect. I really don't, because you don't know what you're going to get from Anthony Richardson, especially on the road. I will say this, and I brought this up again yesterday. It's amazing that we're sitting here on November 5th now, and Texas A&M's got to win 3 of their last 4 games to get bowl eligible.
It's crazy.
And that is completely ridiculous. And this is one of those games that, I don't know how you guys feel, the A&M offense is always difficult to watch. But Florida's offense this year has been really difficult to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
That'll be a hard game to watch.
Yeah, this would have been the old dirty windshield.
The 3 days. The 3 days.
Yeah. What was the network? CW.
JP, Jefferson Pilot. Yeah.
JP,
Another 11 o'clock game. LT, we were discussing this when you joined us. Texas Tech at TCU, the big noon kickoff. TCU minus 8.5. No playoff implications for Texas Tech. Massive ones for TCU. They can't afford a loss. Big noon kick, TCU minus 8.5, LT.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I know Dunaway's all over Texas Tech, and I probably would have played the Red Raiders if it wasn't an 11 o'clock game. TCU's offense is great, 35-plus points in all 8 games this season, but it's back and forth. And, we've seen Texas Tech look really good at times, beating Texas earlier this year. I think this is going to be a tremendous game. If I could only watch one 11 o'clock game, one 11 o'clock window game, I would watch this game. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I just don't understand how TCU keeps doing it, and I don't think you can live long-term on these 2 points. 3 straight games this year, they've given up 28 points in the first half. I don't think you can keep doing that and win football games. And I don't think it's sustainable that your touchdown plays. I mean, last week in the first half, they scored from 71, 55, 51, and 30 yards. Max Duggan is averaging 21.3 yards per completion last week. I just don't think those big plays are a way where you can continue to win football games when you're giving up that many points in the first half and you rely on such big plays. Those big plays eventually by a good team will get taken away from you, right?
Have you already set your lineup? I just want to ask.
I have not. No.
Okay.
I usually do it between 10 and 11, but after
no Max Duggan for you today.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't
He
looked.
refuses to answer that.
Yeah.
Jim does not play early games, right, Dunaway?
No, I do. I just I haven't. I don't want to lie to you and then go out there and put Max Duggan in. I just like Texas Tech to win this game. I'm not saying the game's not going to be 49-47, and I would want a bunch of those players in my daily fantasy.
We'll go to the 2:30 window in a moment. Let me remind you, it's the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, cleaning out the 22s, making room for the 23s. You can get them and save big at JohnstonRVCenter.com. That's JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, thank you to Champy's world-famous fried chicken. Great for any high school football tailgating, college parties, all of that. Champy'sChicken.com. That is Champy'sChicken.com, 119 in Alabaster. Don't forget to head over to the Next Round store, nextround.store. New fall items in there, hoodies, long-sleeve shirts, and more. Nextround.store. New hats, too, for big heads like this one. Nextround.store, nextround.store. Give us hang on real quick, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure you have subscribed and you set your alerts. Also, like us on Facebook and share us there. Retweet this on Twitter as we're going here. So we build up a bigger audience. Get more in the chat room there. Give us a thumbs up there and like us on Twitch, Dunaway.
Maggie and I ran an errand this morning that took us to Whole Foods.
Okay.
To pick up some supplies for that party I told you about. And I never realized how political people, they don't see this in a sports setting. The T-shirt I have on, you can have the rest T-shirt. To us, it's a natural SEC because Oklahoma and Texas joined when we made this shirt. But as the midterms were coming, I got two different people, including one lady who's no way she was a football fan behind the deli section there, who was like, love that shirt, would love to be able to buy one. So I said, nextround.store, are you a big football fan? And she goes, oh, is that a football shirt? I was like, oh,
Trump fan.
It dawns on me that she's a fan of southern states and not northern states.
Hey, is her money green? Is her money green?
Yeah, it is. American dollars. We'll take them.
We'll take it. Yep, we'll take them. Number 15, Penn State at Indiana, 2:30 ABC. Penn State minus 13.5. Indiana's got one Big Ten pelt on their wall with Illinois. It's a horrible loss for Illinois that's hanging out there. Dunaway, can they get another one?
No, I don't think they can. Penn State can run the football really well, unless the Penn State's just devastated if the emotional plug is pulled on them after what happened last week in the final 8 minutes and 52 seconds against Ohio State when they were leading the Buckeyes and had a chance to really get a marquee victory last week. If James Franklin can get his team pieced back together, Humpty Dumpty style, they're a better football team. They run the ball really well. You saw what that defense could do last week with that great Ohio State offense. Penn State's a much better team than they've shown a couple of times this year. I like Penn State to win this game. I don't think it's a slip-up game.
Kentucky of the Big Ten to me. They're good, but they're not great. They're okay. One turnover the first month of the season. They've turned the ball over 10 times since. That's been the problem. I will say this, though. They're 8-22-1 against the number following a straight-up loss under James Franklin. Worst cover percentage in the entire FBS over the last 8 years.
Wow, that's horrible. And Sean Clifford, this may be the game they move away from him a little bit. They may go to their freshmen and start playing for the future.
Well, I heard this yesterday, Dunaway. You bring that up, and you guys tell me what you would do. And this was a good point. Do you want to go 10-2? And your two losses are to the bigs, Michigan and Ohio State, and continue to play Clifford and maybe go to a New Year's Six or go 8-4 and let the young kid play, the true freshman to build for the future.
I would rather go 8-4 because I don't think you go 8-4 playing the true freshman with the game. I mean, you've already played the two teams with better rosters than you. I would go with the young guy, all due respect to the senior. I mean, Sean Clifford broke the school's all-time touchdown record. Shortly after throwing, I said this on the show, shortly after throwing his third interception in the game last week, he broke the school's all-time touchdown record, which shows you the roller coaster of Sean Clifford. I would move on. I'm not saying don't play Sean Clifford, but I would at least rep it 50-50 the rest of the way out and let those freshman running backs who you don't want to transfer start playing with the future quarterback who you don't want to transfer and start building a little bit for the future. I think you can do a little bit of both.
All right, another top 20 game is number 20 Syracuse at Pitt. Pitt is favored 3.5. Pitt, the unranked team, LT favored 3.5 at home, hosting the ranked Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, I will recuse myself from this game just because I've got this with one of my 11 plays. I will tell you, Syracuse seems like they're in a little bit of a funk, though. After back-to-back losses, Garrett Schrader's not 100% healthy. Pitt, though, has been awful. I mean, my gosh, you think about how good they were last year with the 11 wins, and Kenny Pickett was that good. Keaton Slovis has not been good. The Apicanda, the running back has been great, but that's been the only bright spot for Pitt.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll take the Apicanda. Can I get avocado with that? That's what that sounded like.
It really did.
Sean,
the guy's already got over 1,000 yards, and I think he's got 17 touchdowns right now.
Yeah, Schrader's injury is concerning. He left the game last week. He's going to try to go, but he's been banged up since the Clemson game. Sean Tucker's really, really good. And Pitt's, defense, we saw it in the fourth quarter. I don't know if they don't have depth or what. They play well for a few quarters. They got 28 points last week in the fourth quarter, and it'll be interesting to see what that Pitt defense can do as they battle with Syracuse this week.
Also, 2:30 FS1, Oklahoma State, number 18, is at Kansas, and Oklahoma State's catching points in Lawrence. That looks really weird when you see a ranked Big 12 team catching points in Lawrence. But Dunaway, Spencer Sanders is questionable for this game, according to Pete Thamel. And if he can't go, it's little Gundy. Gunnar Gundy is going to get the start.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State last week, though, I mean, Spencer tried to play through the injury, and you saw what happened. 0 points and one of the worst, the worst beating in Gundy's history. So that's another situation where Sanders has been the quarterback a long time. If he's not 100%, go ahead and get a look at what is next there. That is a tough game for Oklahoma State today, I think, against Kansas, because Kansas is getting a little bit healthy, but they haven't won a game since that big showdown with TCU. So I don't know where Kansas is. Oklahoma State looks broken. Those two teams don't seem to be a factor at all in this Big 12 race anymore. That game will not see a TV from me, and I don't know what to expect from either one because they both are trending in a horrible direction. I am surprised with Texas's schedule that they still control their destiny in the Big 12 race. But if the Big 12 championship started today, it'd be TCU and Kansas State. So I don't really know what to make of Oklahoma State, who looked as bad as you could look last week.
That will see a TV for me because it is one of my 11 plays, and I won't give too much away, but I will tell you it is a weird game because I agree with you. Kansas, 3 straight losses after that 5-0 start. They are 6-1-1 against the number this year, third best cover percentage in the FBS. And you look at Gundy, 13-1 all-time against Kansas, the only loss back in 2007, Todd Reesing and that really good Kansas team. They're 11-2 against the number in Big 12 play since last season. That's the best in the Big 12. So Oklahoma State's been covering a lot of games, but watching them last week, I don't know how you respond from a 48-0 loss with or without your starting quarterback.
Yep. Kansas minus 1.5. That's your play right there. I had it in the pick 3. Kansas minus 1.5. Illinois minus 16.5. They're number 16. I mentioned that bad loss for them. 2:30 Big Ten Network game. They host Michigan State, who's down a bunch of players that like to fight in a tunnel. And Illinois minus 16.5, LT.
I've jumped on the bandwagon. Look, you see it?
I can't. You're too dark.
See it now?
Move closer. Yeah, move closer. Closer is what you need.
Looks like an Illinois T-shirt.
Oh, it is Illinois. We got the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, Dunaway, a little smart-ass comment there, a little smug.
What? We couldn't see it.
I'm kidding. Illinois 7-1, first time since 2001. You guys remember the coach in 2001?
Ron Turner.
Ron Turner, yeah.
Very good, bro.
This defense is lights out. I would love to see this defense against a legitimate offense. And I guess we will sort of against Michigan. I know Michigan's a little one-dimensional, but they're only giving up 8.8 points per game. I mean, that is incredible in today's college football. I mean, we raved about Georgia last year, and I know Illinois' competition hasn't been what Georgia's was, but giving up less than 9 points a game in today's college football is really impressive. Brett Bielema has done an incredible job. Chase Brown is one of those, guys that's just going to get you 4 yards every carry.
Chase Brown leading the country in rushing, which is really impressive. I didn't know the Michigan State players that were suspended were actually starters, Brown. Do you know if that? I know they're down 8.
Nope. I don't know the
Yeah.
stat. I think one of them is a major contributor, but I really
Okay.
don't know. This Michigan State, I've barely watched them this year. They're not good.
Me too, but they did play pretty good defense against a really good rush attack in the Michigan game for a little bit last week. So it would be an interesting game if none of those 8 are really big factors on defense and what Michigan State could do to the Illinois rush attack and try to force them to play left-handed, if you will. So interesting game. I just keep waiting for the bubble to pop for Illinois. I don't doubt it's today, but it'll be interesting to see if Michigan State can surprise them and try to put that tunnel gate behind them.
2:30 ESPN, also in the 2:30 window, number 8 Oregon. Colorado far from number 8 is at Colorado, minus 31.5. I don't know how much that interests me, but Dunaway, you're a big Bo Nix to New York guy. This is the type of game where you can pad some stats, one would think.
Yeah, you got to keep it going. These are the kind of games where you can look really good. And our friends at Pro Football Focus put out a wonderful stat. Quarterbacks under pressure, best QBR in the country while under pressure is Bo Nix at 85.7. So he is doing it when pressured. Obviously, he got that number way up after the Georgia game where he was under pressure and they did not score a touchdown in that contest. But he's thriving against Pac-12 defenses. It should be one of those days. If they don't get caught up in a sleepy environment where Bo can put up big numbers again, where he seems like every week it's 4, 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns that he's got a hand in. So we'll see what Bo can do today if he can stay healthy on the road in Boulder.
I want to see if you guys can get any of these. This is pretty amazing, though. Bo Nix is one of 5 FBS players since 2004 that has 20 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns through the first 8 games. Can you give me any of the other 4 guys that have done this since 2004?
Cam
20
Newton,
passing, 10 rushing through 8 games.
Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, Marcus Mariota, and one USC quarterback.
Alex Smith.
You guys got none right.
Serious? My gosh.
Here we go.
Johnny Manziel.
Jalen Hurts, De'Aaron King, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes.
Wow.
Pretty good quarterbacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 of those playing in the NFL.
I'll say this, though. Look, I mean, the offense looks great right now for Oregon, and Bo looks so comfortable. They've won, they've won 5 straight by at least 15 points. But the teams they played are terrible. I mean, they're 5-0 in the Pac-12, but 4 of those teams have a combined conference record of 4-17. So they really, I mean, I've been impressed. I was impressed against UCLA, but outside of that, they haven't beaten anybody, and today will be the same.
All right, let's move on. Also in the 2:30 window, the big one, number 1 Tennessee at number 3 Georgia. LT, I'll start with you because I noticed this thing ticked up a little bit today. It was 8.5 for a lot of the end of the week, back up a point today to 9.5. Georgia favored 9.5. What's that tell me?
That tells you, look, if you're having financial issues, I never say bet to make money, but this is one of those things. If you do one thing on Saturday, make sure you bet on Georgia. Like, I've got a max bet. I'm not going to tell you how much it is, but it will be on Georgia today. I'll go on and let you know that. Tennessee is really good. I think we all agree. And Josh Heupel's done an incredible job. And I still think Tennessee can find their way into a college football playoff with a loss. I think Georgia realizes they can't do the same. Everybody's talking about Georgia hasn't played anybody. I kind of agree with that. But I think Georgia flexes today, and I think this is not going to be the entertaining game people want.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to Dejon Edwards, Kenny McIntosh, and Brock Bowers. A ability to run the football against Tennessee's defense is what Georgia, I think, will do. It'll be a very comfortable game plan for Kirby Smart. And then I think once they are able to get Edwards and McIntosh, who both went over 100-plus yards last week, I think you'll be able to play action with a very veteran quarterback in Stetson Bennett and use that to get Bowers into good matchups. And don't forget that Stetson Bennett runs the ball very well too. So that extra ability that if something's not there in the passing game, that he has the ability to run the football as much, or in fact, I think he actually is a better runner than Hendon Hooker is. Hendon can run the football, but I don't think he wants to run the football as much as Stetson does. So I'm with LT on this one. It was in my pick 3, and I've been all dogs all week long. I agree with him. This feels like Georgia to me all day long, even though every number on that Tennessee offense has been impressive. But look at how close this matchup is. Tennessee's averaging 49 points a game. Well, Georgia's averaging 41 points a game. Tennessee's defense is giving up 21, while Georgia's defense is only giving up 10. So the offensive numbers aren't that out of whack. They just do it differently.
And I am so this is the 53rd 1 versus 2 matchup in the history of the AP poll. It's the first since Bama and LSU in 2019. And again, I give Josh Heupel a ton of credit, and Hendon Hooker's been incredible. But people that compare this Tennessee team to 2019 LSU, I completely disagree with. Now, if they go into Athens today and they slay that Georgia defense, then I'll pull back a little bit. But I want to see this. I think this is a big test for both teams, but I really like Georgia today.
And I know we've talked about the pressure on Georgia that if they do win today, they likely do not make the playoffs. But let's don't take away the distractions for Tennessee. Hendon Hooker's now the Heisman betting favorite. He also has got an NIL deal, an extra one this week with Mercedes-Benz of Knoxville. They also didn't get not a favor if you're in that locker room with rat poison when you're named the number 1 team in the college football rankings, going to Georgia, who's the defending national champs and number 1 in the polls. Nothing motivates locker room more than being told you're not number 1. Nothing adds more pressure to the Tennessee guys than being named number 1. It all became real for Tennessee this week. They against Alabama, they were trying to end that streak. They had the home field advantage, the momentum there, trying to finally end that streak, and they were able to do that. And then they backed it up last week against Kentucky, where they were just a much better team. Now, all week long, people have painted a picture of them being in the college football playoffs, them being the team to beat for a national championship, them being the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. It's his Heisman to lose now. All that brings with it a great deal of pressure. We'll see how they handle that today at Georgia.
UTSA UAB, also a 2:30 stadium game down at Protective. This thing's going back and forth, Dunaway. Right now, as I look at it, UAB is favored by half a point, so it's a pick 'em. But UTSA has been favored. UAB has been favored. Basically a pick 'em right now.
Yeah, 4-0 at home, 0-4 on the road for UAB. You start right there. McBride's going to get his, but can UAB's great defense control Frank Harris and UTSA? It's home. It's a home game, but I don't know what this UAB team is. This roster seemed to be a 10-win type roster, a Conference USA championship game. Really, this roster and UTSA's roster, we should be playing for a spot in the Conference USA championship game today, and that's not what we're doing. So I don't know what to think of UAB. So I'm going to go with more of a known and ride with UTSA here to win the football game today, and then maybe UAB can prove me wrong with another home victory. But I'll ride with the Roadrunners.
Realistically, UAB should be 8-0. They've lost their 4 road games by a combined 21 points. And, we had Brian Vincent on the show earlier this week, and I think I remember him saying Dylan Hopkins was a no-go. Do you guys remember
he said he had not been cleared. That was as of Wednesday, had not been cleared, and it was Zeno at that point. So if he wasn't cleared by Wednesday at Coach Jones at 12:30, I would expect Zeno in that one.
But I will tell you this. I was talking to a former UAB player late yesterday afternoon, and he said that he believes Dylan Hopkins will get the start today.
Yeah, well, if he does, that's good. Is he 100%? That could impact you too if you're out there playing 85, 90%. But I'm with you. They're better with Hopkins than they are with Zeno.
Yeah, look, you're right. Dwayne McBride is going to play on Sundays. I don't think there's any doubt. I'm going to lean UAB. I'm not giving this out as one of my 11 plays, but I think at home, I think it'll be a great game. And I'm a big fan of what Jeff Traylor's done at Texas San Antonio.
Yeah, good coach, obviously. Before we move to the night slate, a couple things. A little bit of breaking SEC news. Dave Matter, who covers the Missouri program, is reporting that Eli Drinkwitz. So before I finish that sentence, guess what the rest of the sentence is. Eli Drinkwitz, what?
He's
gotten an extension.
Contract extension. They're going to keep him.
How about that? Contract extension by Eli Drinkwitz. through 2027 comes with a raise. Dave Matter. It shows you how bad my perception is. I thought the guy started the season kind of on the hot seat. I didn't think he'd done a whole heck of a lot to get himself off the hot seat. Maybe turned it down just a little bit. He's getting a contract extension.
Well, their DC defensive coordinator got an extension earlier this week, which sort of set the table for this to happen. And the defense is really good, LT, at Missouri. And if they ever get quarterback right, they were sort of like Auburn. They were like Brian Harsin. They were trying to find a portal quarterback. They wanted Dylan Gabriel. They wanted Zach Calzada. They wanted this and they wanted that, and they missed on all those too. So you wonder if they had a different quarterback, much like Auburn, what this season would have been for them.
Well, I'm giving you a free play right here because it's an 11 o'clock, so I'm not going to touch it. But I think Missouri wins the game straight out. I mean, I think it's a live dog. We talked about the defense yesterday. Georgia's 1, Alabama's 2. Statistically, Missouri right now is 3rd in total defense right now, only giving up 311 yards per game. And how about this? Drinkwitz 11-1 at home versus unranked opponents, which, by the way, Kentucky is.
All right, let's move on to the night slate. A reminder, it's the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, JohnstonRVCenter.com, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Getting rid of those 22s, make room for the 23s. You save big there at Johnston RV Center, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, thank you to Champy's world-famous fried chicken, champyschicken.com, champyschicken.com, right there on 119 in Alabaster. Hit up the store, nextround.store. All the fall collection is in there right now, hoodies, the long sleeves, much more, brand new hats that fit me perfect. Now I got a big old head. Brand new hats right there at nextround.store, nextround.store. Make sure to give us a thumbs up, like us, wherever you're watching us, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, set your alerts so you know when we're live. Our post game will come after the late games tonight. Of course, Alabama and Auburn both late. So make sure you've got an alert set so you know when we're live. Retweet this, share it on Facebook, and like us on Twitch. All right, night slate. Number 13, K-State playing host to Texas. I mean, you want to talk about weird-looking lines. Kansas State's number 13, and Dunaway, I know they got some quarterback questions, but they're catching points from a Texas team that they play close games. I'll give them this. All their losses are close losses, but they're a 2.5-point favorite in the Little Apple.
Well, I mean, Texas also brings a name brand in Vegas as well. Adrian Martinez is going to go through warm-ups, and he's going to try to play in this contest. So if he does, he's able to play. That makes Kansas State that much a bigger threat. Quinn Ewers finally made some freshman mistakes in their most recent loss. You still have Bijan Robinson. So there's a lot to like about Texas. And they still have a Big 12 championship in their future if they can win these next 2 weeks. Oh, by the way, just happen to play Kansas State and TCU the next 2 weeks. So a tough little stretch here for Texas. Texas is a lot like UAB for me, man. I don't know what they should be winning more. I don't know what you're going to get week in and week out. So I don't know how to play this one. I never trust Kansas State, which has cost me a lot of wins, a lot of W's and pick'ems and stakes over the years. So I don't know who to go with in this game, especially if Martinez can't play. But I'll tell you, LT, and you know this, without Adrian Martinez, their other quarterback has been really good. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a pretty good run for QB2.
A pretty amazing stat because, Brown, you talked about how fishy that number is right now. It's just the 5th time since 1978 that an unranked team has been favored on the road versus a top 25 team. This doesn't happen much. I stayed away from this game. Very difficult. I mean, Sark has been bad on the road. He's 1-6 in 2 years. Texas on the road. And you look at Kansas State, they're 60-4 all time at home as a top 25 versus unranked teams. So I think whether it's Adrian Martinez or Will Howard, I think Kansas State's the better team. You talked about playing for the Big 12. I saw that they have an 86% chance to play for the Big 12 championship if they win today. So big game for Kansas State, but I stayed away from it.
And Brown, you would be saying, well, Texas is 24 in the college football rankings. For Alabama's resume, you'd hope that Texas would win to sort of help build that up. But Alabama is not in a resume situation this year. They are a one-loss team that'll either win the rest of their games, including the SEC championship, and be in the playoffs, or they'll lose a game tonight, next week, or in the SEC championship game and not be in the playoffs. There's no wiggle room. There's no gray area. There's no politicking. There's no nothing for Alabama in this situation. Either they're a 2-loss team not in the playoffs, or they win them all and they're the SEC champions in the playoffs. So you don't have to worry about Texas at all in trying to resume. It is what it is when it's all said and done, and either Alabama wins the game or they don't. So there have been situations in the past where if you're a Bama fan, you'd have been scoreboard watching and wanting Texas to win this game to help your resume and the way you look. Doesn't matter this year.
All right, let's go to the Bayou. We'll make our official pick on Alabama and Auburn at the end of the show as always, but 6 o'clock ESPN. This is going to be one of those tough times where the end of that Georgia-Tennessee game, if it's any good, is bleeding over into the start of Bama-LSU, and you're going to be going back and forth there. But Alabama's still a 13.5-point favorite in this one, Dunaway. The Tide has remained right around that 2-touchdown mark all week.
Yeah, and I'll stick to what I've said most of the time this week is that I feel like what LSU does offensively plays right into the hands of what Alabama is good at defensively. They're built for a running quarterback who is their leading rusher in Jaden Daniels. I think it's a great day for Will Anderson and Dallas Turner and Henry To'oTo'o to have a big day, whether it's pressuring the quarterback when he's throwing or containing him to keep him from running with the football. And it just comes down to Alabama not getting beat deep on those one-on-ones. Talented receivers at LSU. I just don't think they can stretch Alabama out enough to beat them tonight. I like the Tide, and I like the Tide to actually run the football a little bit tonight too.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's amazing that we talked about how dominant Alabama's been in that Alabama-Tennessee series. They've been really dominant in this. You think about since 2011 winning that national championship, they're 10-1, and their one loss was 2019 to that great LSU team. So Alabama has really dominated this series. I'm not pulling for this at all. I got a feeling this is the game, though, that Jaden Daniels, doesn't finish. Just got a feeling. Yeah,
that's a tough prediction for the Daniels family. A lot of Dallas Turner and Will Anderson there, and you factor that in.
I just think they rely way too much on his wheels. Yeah, I mean 646 yards. He leads the FBS for quarterbacks in rushing right now, and just the way they design plays. I agree with Dunaway. I think it's it favors Alabama. This matchup does.
So LT is going gladiator on him, and like
I hope not. I like him.
Anderson and Turner is going to have him pinned, holding him up over their head, looking up in the box, and they're going to crack him in half.
I'll tell you, I don't know who I'm more surprised though by Jaden Daniels and what he's been able to do, or what Bo Nix is doing at Oregon, because both of those guys. Yeah. So up and down.
It's amazing when you around a guy with a better roster, what happens, I mean,
yeah,
Bo's got a better roster at Oregon, and, the defenses aren't the same. Jaden Daniels, the weird thing about him is by and large, he's playing tougher defenses now. So,
see, and that'll be the test. I mean, if we went back 1 year and we're watching Jaden Daniels with that Herm Edwards Arizona State offense, and you would have told me this is a guy that can beat an Alabama defense in 365 days, I would have said there is zero chance. And I'm going to stick with that. There is zero chance Jaden Daniels is going to beat an Alabama defense.
And you would have said 365 days ago that Bo Nix couldn't be quarterbacking a team that was averaging 48 points a game either. And that's what that's what he's doing at Oregon.
But back to Brown's point, those Pac-12 defenses, and again, they've won 5 straight by at least 15, but they're playing teams that aren't any good. And when you look at the separation of the wide receivers, and I'm not taking anything away from Bo, he's been great this year, and I'm happy for him, but they haven't played anybody with a pulse.
Again, it is the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, also presented by Champy's world famous fried chicken, 119 in Alabaster, Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Let's talk Auburn, Mississippi State. I've had so many Auburn fans. I was texting one last night while I was out to dinner, and he said, I had these Mississippi State tickets. I was just going to eat them. But because of Carnell Williams and how much I love him, I am actually now going to drive to Starkville and pull for Auburn, or he's pulling for Auburn either way, but I'm going to drive to Starkville and support Carnell. I've had a lot of Auburn fans tell me that. They're going to drive over there for an ESPN 2 6:30 kick, done away that sees State favored by 12.5 at Starkville. It's hard to predict what you're going to get out of this Auburn team.
And I told you that same story. A couple of my friends are season ticket holders at Auburn, and they've got this road ticket in Starkville as well, and they had not planned on going because we have some mutual friends that are or have kids that are at Mississippi State, and they were just going to give them a big block of tickets to go over there and hang out with their kids all weekend. And now they took some of those tickets back. They're going to support Carnell. And that says a lot about the Auburn fan base and what Carnell Williams means to them. I just don't know what you get with an interim coach. Are they going to play hard early on? Yes. Are they going to, probably make some mistakes in the offense? That's what they've been doing. But just because you have a coach who wants it and loves it and really wants the best for Auburn, which Carnell Williams does, you can't change the roster in week 10 of the season. So Auburn's roster is what it is. Now you compare that to Mississippi State. How does that match up against, Will Rogers and the way the Pirates going to call a game? I sort of like Mississippi State in this game long term, but I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a dogfight, and I think it'll settle in somewhere around the number, about a 13-point game.
Yeah, Brown, how you have an interim coach the first week of November is being minus 10 in turnovers, second worst in the FBS, and just converting 37% of your third downs. I mean, the offense has been bad. The defense has been bad. This is a team they're going against. Mississippi State really, really needs a win. And I think Will Rogers in this spot, I mean, he's got a lot of confidence going back to his second half against Auburn last year. I didn't play this game, but I do like Mississippi State. I think they ended up winning the game by double digits.
But play it the other way, guys. What if Auburn does win this game? What does it mean? What does it mean to Mississippi State? And they're trying, Mississippi State, Mike Leach, they're trying to salvage a season right now at this point.
I don't think they're trying to salvage a season. They'll be bowl eligible with a win here the first week of November.
Yeah, but they don't win. What are they? They're 5-4, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, what is the expectation year in, year out for Mississippi State?
I think it would be this year, done to your point, done away with Will Rogers coming back and Zach Arnett still on that defense. I think the expectation was better than 6-6. And to your point, if you lose this game today, 6-6. Well, but if you did, that's Dunaway's question. If you did, 6-6 is hard to come by. So yeah, I mean that's your point, Dunaway, right? Is that the point you're making?
It is. It is, and there. I think we're judging. We're making the same mistake with Mike Leach we made with Dan Mullen, and the mistakes that the losses that would come up in November. LT, you said all summer that you thought this was going to be a breakout year for Mike Leach at Mississippi State, not to win the division or anything, but they would take a huge step forward. If they end up 6-6 or 7-5 again, it's the same old, and it's a big day for them today. But then they got Georgia next week. And then they got Ole Miss at the end. It's not easy for State down the stretch. Quickly, Brown, I just on the TV, I'm sure you guys saw it too. They're talking to Ryan Day live at Northwestern. You're looking for, not to try to help anybody with their daily fantasy, you're looking for a breakout day for C.J. Stroud. They were just showing the flags there. It's drizzly like it is in Northwestern. It seems like every time there's a game live there. But that wind outside of Chicago or on the banks of Chicago, of the river or the lake up there, that wind has got the flags standing straight out like that. That's not an ideal passing situation for C.J. Stroud today.
Brown, I know you complain about the bags under your eyes and you use disco. Ryan Day and Jeff Fisher probably have the biggest bags I can remember for any coaches.
Yeah. You're right about that. I've noticed that with Ryan Day. To Dunaway's point, though, that Illinois game, they're in Champaign. I saw somebody tweeting from that game saying, hey, the wind is like 45 miles an hour here. So it's the same thing as Dunaway said in the actual Windy City there in Chicago, right? So we shouldn't be surprised. So we'll come back and make an actual pick on that game. Now, Clemson, number 4 at Notre Dame, and LT, right now Clemson is minus 3.5. I know from listening to you talk all week long and your upset alert, you really like Notre Dame all week. Do you still feel the same today?
Yeah, I mean, just the way Notre Dame is, and it's by committee, the way they're running the football. They've averaged 228 rushing yards over their last 5 games, 13th best in the FBS over that span. Clemson is just one of those teams that they're finding ways to win. I just don't think they're that good, and I think this is a prime spot. Now, I'll say this: if Clemson gets by tonight, they're probably going to go to a college football playoff. So if you're one of these fringe teams, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, USC, take your pick. You need Clemson to lose tonight. But I think this is a good spot for it.
It seems like the injury to the quarterback bringing Drew Pine in has forced Notre Dame to really play a better style of offense that this roster is more fit to, if that makes any sense at all. It seems like they were maybe trying to do too much with their other quarterback, and when they went back to Pine, it seems like they've been forced to really concentrate on running the game and then off of play action, working with Michael Mayer, who is, with all due respect to Brock Bowers, those two are the best tight ends in college football, and maybe some of the best tight ends in college football we've ever seen. That I think they have stumbled in to their style of play with this roster. It's a scary game for Clemson tonight. I would say I don't think you can run on the Clemson front seven, but then we saw Syracuse do it pretty handily. So it's an interesting game tonight. It will have one of my TVs, even with Alabama and Auburn playing at the same time.
There are 3 games on the slate that match top 25 teams: Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, and number 21 Wake at number 22 NC State. ACC Network, 7 o'clock. And again, another weird looking line. Dunaway, I'll start with you with Wake, higher ranked team. On the road, though, only higher by 1 spot, -3.5, coming off an 8 turnover performance.
Yeah, I mean, who comes off of an 8 turnover performance and you think they win the football game the next week? But, Wake has had the better highs at this point this year. But I trust NC State's defense to make this an interesting game. I don't really have a feel which way this game is going to go. It'll be interesting to see what Sam Hartman does coming back off of that turnover, where it wasn't all – I mean, there were some fumbles, and he fumbled it 3 times. I think he threw 3 interceptions. You throw in 2 more fumbles there, 8 turnovers in the second half for an absolutely disastrous half. And NC State's going with their backup quarterback. So I don't know how to play this game. If both quarterbacks were healthy in this game, I would take NC State. We'll see what they can do with a backup.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this game. I will tell you this: John Cohen is known for, out-of-the-box hires.
Uh-oh.
Dave Clawson, I know he's 54, but good coaches win, great coaches cover. This is a guy that is 16-5 against the number versus ranked teams since 2015. I think Dave Clawson's a hell of a coach. Last week was not a good look with the 8 turnovers, but that was the outlier. I mean, think about Wake played for the ACC championship last year. It's a good Wake team this year. Great quarterback in Sam Hartman. How different would things be for Brian Harsin and Auburn if they had Sam Hartman?
Oh, I mean, it'd be everything would be different. I mean, that's one thing, Dunaway, we didn't bring up. Hoke and then a lot of other people reporting with Auburn that TJ Finley didn't make the trip. I mean, Robbie Ashford has played his best quarterback, but Hartman, other than last week, Robbie Ashford was better than Hartman last week. Hartman would have been an upgrade most of this year.
And my point there is,
yes.
is Dave Clawson. If Auburn was to get a guy like that, do you think Auburn fans would be happy, or do you think they would be deflated?
There's no way I'd put it this way. There's zero sex appeal to that name. Sex appeal doesn't always matter, right? I mean, we talk about winning the press conference. That's a silly discussion. Winning the press conference doesn't win a single game. There's no sex appeal to the Clawson name. Is he a better coach than some coaches that have been mentioned? Yeah, I would say that's the case, Dunaway.
Who would you guys rather have, Jeff Grimes or Dave Clawson?
Truthfully, I would rather have Jeff Grimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, Mike Leach brings an offensive system into this league that is yet to be proven it can win the way he coaches it in this league. Dave Clawson brings that slow mesh read offense. He's married to that, LT. And I don't know, with the speed you have on the defensive line and the strength you have on the defensive line, if that offense would work in the SEC. That would be my concern if you're comparing that coach to the other coach.
Yeah, Clawson's the more known commodity, to answer your question, Lance. I've seen that guy coach. I haven't seen Jeff Grimes be a college football head coach. So that's my difference there. Clawson's a known commodity. I am with Dunaway. I would have some concerns if that offensive system could work in the Southeastern Conference. I don't disagree with Jim on that. All right, 9:30 LT, your team, USC, playing host to Cal. You mentioned it earlier, -21.5. ESPN night game, Cal at USC. Does this worry you at all for the Trojans?
No, they are 12-3. Cal is against the numbers of road dog the last 5 seasons. They won 2 of their last 3 straight up against USC. Different USC team though. USC's offense has been incredible. Defense has not been good, but I think USC's offense is way too good for this Cal defense.
Yeah, I mean, but the Trojan defense gave up 543 total yards of offense. last week, but the offense is too good. Caleb Williams with his 411 yards and 5 touchdowns. They are doing everything to win a championship on offense, and their defense is the only thing that will keep them from reaching any of their goals this year. I don't think this matchup sets up well for a loss at all, because I don't think Cal has that much offense. But down the road, I still feel like USC has another loss in them because of that defense.
All right, let's go around the horn here. Quick picks against the spread. LT, I'll start with you. UAB Pick'em hosting UTSA. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to take UAB at home. Again, I think there's such a different team home and away, so I'll take UAB.
I'll take UTSA 38-34.
Ooh, tough loss. That's a lot of scoring in a UAB game, 38-34.
I'll take UAB for state.
No, we got plenty of stakes today. I think we're 2, possibility of 4 today.
I love how you control the stake bet now.
No, I don't control it. I don't control it.
Every week. We have this argument every week. This is the husband-wife argument that continues to happen. Every time we start arguing about where we go to eat, we end up having that argument.
One of my stakes today is Tennessee only scoring 28.5 or less points. Is basically what that has come down to. Do you know?
I hope you win that stake, by the way.
Yeah, but what a major upset that would be if Georgia's D holds them to 28.5. Kirby would take that right now and take it to the bank.
The good news for you, Dunaway, is you're winning that bet for 28.5 points. Lance doesn't win it until it gets over 28. So for the entire game up to 28.5 points, you're winning right there.
Or
right?
Until Tennessee likes to call that halftime.
LT, let's go to Auburn. I think you kind of tipped your hand on this one, but the Tigers catching 12.5 at Mississippi State.
Oh, man. I stayed away from this game. I think I'll lean Auburn plus 12.5. I mean, Mississippi State's going to win this game, but I don't know.
I'll take Mississippi State 34-17.
Oh, so you've got it outside the number. Yeah, State wins the game. I think Auburn covers that number, though. I think they can keep it inside the 12.5, maybe even a late backdoor cover.
The fascinating thing for me is watching Ashford on the road tonight, because he does seem to be getting better.
And he is. I just think it's the other way around. Auburn fights, and at the end, a late Mississippi touchdown gets it outside the number.
Well, Dunaway, to your point, a lot of people point at the emotion for Carnell, playing for Carnell and Zach Etheridge and all these Auburn guys, Kendall Simmons that is stepping up. A couple mistakes early, that'll kill emotion. I mean, two quick touchdowns, something like that. You can't afford early mistakes. If emotion is the big thing, if these guys are playing on emotion for their coaches, you can lose emotion quickly, or it can be the opposite. You stay in a game, you get an early lead, then the emotion builds. So
yeah,
that's a tricky way to win a game.
I just think all season long, Auburn's depth, their ones aren't up to the ones in the SEC, but then their twos are a big drop off. And late in these games, sometimes there's just nothing left in the gas tank. Those guys are playing so hard, and they just don't have the depth behind them.
All right, LT, Alabama 13.5 at LSU.
So this is one of my 11 plays. I'll go on and give it out. I like Alabama. Again, I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to make it a full 4 quarters. I hate to say that, but I agree with what Dunaway has been saying all week. I think this offense plays into the hands of Alabama's defense, and I think Bryce Young has a huge game.
Yeah, I do too, and I'll take Alabama something like 40-17, 40-20, something like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I think Alabama covers this one. I'm going to continue to go against the Alabama on the road trend, and I've lost it every time this year, but I'll continue to go with it. Alabama on the road, they're going to play better, and they're going to cover this one. All right, we're back live after all the big games. By the way, I don't know if y'all saw this before we started on SportsCenter, or not on SportsCenter, but on Game Day, if you were watching. Did either of you see the trivia question, last AP number 1 team to lose at home? Did you see it, Dunaway? So you know who it is, LT. Any random guess. You just get the year right. Last AP number 1 team to lose at home.
Was it Alabama 19?
It wasn't. I would have guessed Alabama. They weren't number 1 then. Dunaway?
Yeah, LSU had ascended to number 1. And then the guess before that, a lot of people went to Ohio State in 2015, but that wasn't the case. Yep. They were number 2 and they lost. It was all the way back to what was an Oregon team, right, Brown?
Oregon 2012. That's the last time the AP number one team's lost at home. So that's what Tennessee's up against today. To your point about Georgia, LT, if you like trends and our angles, that's a pretty good trend for Georgia.
Yeah.
Real quick, Bobby asked about the hot tub. I've been in worse hot tubs than the scenario he just
He also asked, is Liberty plus 14.5? What's your free lock today? What's the free lock at the State?
The free lock is Georgia. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the bet everything you got game is what you said.
I just this game has been so hyped, and I cannot believe people think Tennessee is invincible. I just don't see that. I think Stetson Bennett has a huge game.
I will say though, all 2019, we kept waiting for the shoe to drop on that LSU team, and it never did.
Again, compare the playmakers on that LSU team to what you've got here.
I know, but I'm not sure. It seems like if I remember the conversation in 2019 on our show was eventually Joe Burrow is going to go back to being what he was last year. Eventually Joe Burrow is going to go back to being what he was last year, and he never did.
Joe Burrow, outside of Cam Newton, I still might even go Joe Burrow. The greatest single season we've ever seen. I don't see that from Hendon Hooker. I think Hendon Hooker is probably your favorite right now to win the Heisman, but it's not even close to what Joe Burrow was doing in 19.
All right. Thank you, Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator. Hit them up online, johnstonrvcenter.com. Clearing out those 22s to make room for the 23s. Go see America with Johnston RV Center. Go see Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Great for your high school football tailgating. Also your college football parties today, from the great chicken fingers to po' boys, Mississippi Delta tamales. Great sides and desserts at champyschicken.com. Hit nextround.store while you're online too, and grab some of our fall gear, the hoodies, brand new hats, long sleeves, all there. Give us a thumbs up wherever you're watching us. Make sure you've subscribed and set your alerts on YouTube, because we will be going live after the games and you'll get an alert and watch us on. I like when Dunaway does the light show. Watch us on social media as well at Next Round Live. We'll see you tonight after the games. Enjoy your games, boys.